Hi everyone, welcome. We are so excited to have all of you here. Some of you are connected through the Memphis JCC, and some of you are connected through Jason and all of his amazing teaching. So my name is Lauren Taub, and I am the director of the Center for Jewish Living and Learning at the JCC. And we're really working to bring in a lot of diverse styles of learning and really find ways to help people connect with their Judaism and however is most comfortable for them. So this actually, Jason approached me a few months ago, and I know that you've done teaching at the JCC before, but you were like, I have this great idea, and it sounded amazing. This is the first that I'm going to be learning with Jason too, so I'm so excited to be joining with you. And I'm thrilled to also welcome Shoshana Sanker, who's going to be helping with a Q&A portion. So before we get started, and before I turn it over to Jason, I just wanted to introduce him. So Jason is an entrepreneur and a musician. He is dedicated to teaching music as a universal language through two companies, the Bridge Institute and Beit Abulafia. Jason is a financial advisor for nonprofit hospitals and universities through TIAA. He has adapted the teachings of the Kabbalist Rabbi Abraham Abulafia to modern applications. Jason and his wife Michal moved to Memphis in 2016 with their daughters Ariella and Dvorah. Jason enjoys playing the blues at clubs on Beale Street with his band Nachshon Leap and studying Talmud and Kabbalah. So we are so excited to have him here. And as you're going along and as you're learning, if any great ideas come up, please share them in the chat. And I'm sure Jason will tell you more about when to jump in and all of those pieces. And we'll go from there. So thanks, Jason. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Lauren. Thanks for having me. Thanks for working with me. Thanks everyone for coming. This is really exciting. This really is a dream. Made true, come true, a kind of a combination of both. The JCC, I want to say, is just so welcoming for new ideas, and Lauren and her team, it's really great to just reach out and say, I have an idea, and they say, oh, what is it? Tell me more. It's very exciting because it's really off the beaten path to do this, and then to work together with her and to put this together. So I just really want to shout out to MJCC and Lauren, her division. It's really terrific. So thank you so much. To Shoshana Sanker, thank you for hosting with me today. We're doing as a Q&A portion is really the class, because I do this better as dialogue, because that's the whole concept, is dialogue. So I never really did well in school with one person talking, so I don't want to repeat that on the other side of it. So Shoshana is a native of Memphis. I'll let you tell a little bit about yourself, but when we first got here, she has a love of music and creative arts. And we did a couple of videos, interviews with different people in my group, and that kind of format works really well. So I thought we would start with that today. So Shoshana, if you want to give a little background for yourself, and we can kick it off with some discussion.
Okay, yeah, no, that sounds good. Thank you for having me. It's so nice to be here with all of these new faces, and some of y'all I've seen before, so I think it's going to be a really nice discussion. Right, I'm from here. I've lived in a few other cities, moved back to Memphis about 8.5 years ago. I'm a writer and an editor, and I have a news writing history, so that's sort of where the whole interview aspect of this falls into, and Jason and I have worked together a lot, and he's introduced me to some amazing people. So I'm happy to be here with y'all. So I'm sort of going to be Jason's guide, as he's your guide for the next few minutes here as we get going. So Jason, I think where we want to start is just sort of telling people what they're going to expect, what's coming in this class, before we really dive into some of the weeds here.
Sure, great, Shoshana. So the main takeaway is, what can you do at home with this? It's going to be intellectual, it's going to be spiritual, but then the whole point is practical. What can you do at home? How can you access this? The main point that I want to drive home throughout this whole class is that music only has 4 notes. And if you can think of music as 4 notes, you can access the world of jazz and classical and anything. You can do it. And I'm somebody who took music lessons and went to school for music and all this stuff, and I learned about all the 12 notes and all the different names you could give them, and it really filled my head with too much stuff. And with just 4 notes that I've pulled from the Kabbalistic system, where they focus on 4 letters, I thought it was too simplistic at first, and it's really a door opener. It's really a key. So that's really, I'm gonna, at the end of the class, I really hope I'll feel success if you say, I'm gonna try that, Jason. I never thought I could get near a piano, or I never thought I could improvise. I'm going to try it. I'll give you 2 minutes of my life and I'll try it. And then we'll see where it goes.
Good. So give us a little bit of a snapshot of how you ended up here. Tell us a little bit about your journey and some of the inspiration and the creativity that came along with it.
Great. So in a nutshell, what I've always been looking for is the following. I love being part of the Jewish community. I love being part of a community, but then I feel kind of cornered in terms of my individuality. If you're following a certain spiritual path and a certain spiritual teacher, then where's the room for the individual? And I've always tried to figure out what is that way that you could guide yourself for your own individuality, but still live amongst people so you don't have to be a hermit just so you can be an individual, you know? So I really don't want there to be any trade-off. And so my spiritual path has always been, since I got to college, was joining the Orthodox Jewish community. And how I got there is a whole nother class. But once I got into the Orthodox Jewish community and I studied the writings of Chabad and Breslov and the Lithuanians and all these different parts of the Jewish world, I still felt that there was something else I wanted. There was some other key I was looking for. And so in terms of the question of inspiration, I got a lot of inspiration from all these beautiful groups and the teachers. I got a lot of inspiration from John Coltrane, the great jazz saxophone player. And I thought, what is he saying that I could find in Judaism? And how could this end up being a something? And so I spent 10 years in a room in New York City trying to figure it out at Fort Washington, 187 at Fort Washington. And I came up with some good ideas. And one of those was the universal language room, of having people improvise together and share melodies. And that led me to today, where I found a rabbi from 800 years ago who said the same thing 800 years ago. And I thought, it can't be. It just can't be. And it is. So I got so excited. I said, Lauren, can I do a class on it? And so that brings me back to the first part of this thing.
Right.
She said, yeah, sure.
Great. Do you want to share a little bit about Abulafia, or do you want to do like a quick demo and maybe we have a little musical interlude to mix things up? Where are you at?
I'd like to share my screen, Shoshana, and show you a little bit about Abulafia right here. Let me use my finger to go back a couple. So this is, I don't know who made this picture, but this is one of the covers of Abulafia's book. And so in a nutshell, he's trying to say that spirituality can be balanced with rational thinking and philosophy. And that was, even today, is kind of a radical approach for the Caplan mysticism. And he said, that's no problem. You can put both together. And he said there's a way to connect to God through music, but he said through Hebrew letters. Okay, so I'm going to show this to you. This is the whole spark. This happened about, I don't know, about 2 years ago, but during COVID pandemic, the light bulb really went off. So this is a book from Yehuda Albertini, one of Abulafia's students, where he maps out a Kabbalistic meditation manual. So if you look here, these Hebrew letters, I'll just explain it very briefly. There's an Aleph, a Bet, and a Gimel, and a Dalet. They're 4 Hebrew letters. So he says in Hebrew, these 4 letters can build 24 houses. And I always thought, well, that's great. That's very nice. I have no idea what he's talking about. And so I would put the book down. So I think it was last summer, I picked the book up again and I put it down again. I said, no, I don't understand what he's saying. And then I picked up this jazz manual from a saxophonist, Jerry Bergonzi. And he says, with 4 notes, you can make 24 permutations. I'm like, wait a minute, I just saw that. What is that? So I went back and I was like, oh my gosh, is modern jazz the decoder key for 800-year-old Kabbalah?
John Coltrane was right the whole time.
Doesn't that sound like a light bulb going off? And I said, it is. It really is. It's the same exact manual. There's no difference. Yeah. Look at all the number permutations with 4. And he makes 24. And he says he makes 24. And so I started studying more. And the Kabbalists say, once you do these permutations, the pen almost takes over. New ideas fly into you. New concepts come to you. And the jazz player says, new melodies came to me. And then new ideas came. They're saying the same thing.
Wow. It's pretty cool. It's also pretty amazing that you were able to connect the two so effortlessly, by the way.
I think I had a lot of training up to the moment, and then it hit me like lightning. It really did. It was a lightning bolt that just came out. And so I started, let me see if I can just help someone mute. I'm sorry to just mute a couple people here.
Universal language, but he talked about.
Okay, that's all right. We just got some background commentary. So I made my own manual. This is my own manual that I wrote out. So I added different vowels and I did the same permutations. And these aren't actual Hebrew words, but when I say them and I practice them with a melody, then I'm able to come up with new ideas and the music starts flowing.
Right.
So what I think I'll do is here, I think I will demonstrate this page. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it does. Yes. And I think maybe if you could connect a little bit about how music then becomes your dialogue and that becomes our conversation, and that even though maybe we're just doing different permutations, we're still able to connect even when we do it together.
Great. So that's the thing. When I tell people on a music instrument, there's really only 4 notes. And you can make up a little melody. Let me go ahead and go to camera 2, if I can.
You're so
I know
excited to
I
do
know I
that.
can pull this off. I know this is like the techie nerdy side of me. I'm gonna geek out for a second. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, so it's just 4 notes, and so everyone can do this, right? Just lean on me. It's the same notes. Okay, so what I do is I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 3. That's a set of 2 permutations. Or I do 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2. And someone could take the first one and another person could take the second one. So somebody could go, you can do that call and response just with 4 notes.
So you're having a conversation musically with whomever's with you.
Yeah, or yourself. You can communicate with yourself and do call and response inside the music, and people can enjoy it.
Right.
So with 4 notes, you're ready to take off. It doesn't need to be intense music training.
Right.
And so the first line up there, I'm going to put my cursor over. If you can, do you see my cursor going over it?
Yep.
Okay. So this says Ovagiha. So when I put the music to it, it says Ovagiha, and then the next one is Evo Higa, and I just sang my own language. I'm creating my own language. And so I want to point out that's what Abulafia says. He says Hebrew is called the holy language. It doesn't mean that other languages are not holy. He says all languages are holy. He just says that for prophecy, to connect to God, which is a unique feature of the Jewish people in our mission, is that Hebrew was the perfect mirror of how prophecy works. So for prophecy, it's the holy language because it works so perfectly. But Chinese, Arabic, whatever it is, they're all holy. And so I think he's right because the mixture of vowels with letters allows you to do these permutations and feel that sense of holiness.
Do you think there's a way we could get our friends who have joined us, since it seems like most people are on mute, to maybe practice a little bit right now? And then they can really get a feel for what it would be like if they were to choose to do this, to meditate at home, to find their space, to get a little bit centered, and how, like, honestly, when Jason showed this to me the first time, I was like, okay, I'll try it. But it's super effective. And once you really practice it, just like anything else, it just becomes a habit, and it really lightens up the day. And I can speak to that for real because it actually happened. So maybe our friends, go ahead, Jason.
I think that there are several people I've studied with here. I think towards the end of the class, if they'd like to jump on, I think they probably will. I think I would love like Michael Tannenbaum or Jan or Hari, anybody who'd like to jump on. So I will say that, I even brought this boom whacker because I think if you really want to say, oh, I can't even handle piano, you can buy these for $2 and they make these little sounds. You can have so much fun just banging these out. Xylophones. So I think what I'll do is I'll do a couple more examples. We'll talk a little bit more, but if anybody does want to play a little bit, please come off mute and let us know, or put in the chat box that you'd feel comfortable to do so. So no one's going to be called out on the spot, I promise.
Right. So before you do a couple more, Jason, explain to everybody why we don't go like all systems go into Abulafia, where there's only parts of it that you like to touch on.
Very good. So one of the things about Abulafia, he was highly controversial, and he was really ostracized, and he was a traveling teacher because he really ran up against the rabbinic establishment. And he did run up against the rabbinic establishment because in 2021, it's going to, great, okay, Michael, excellent. In 2021, it's going to sound pretty cool. In 1240, it didn't sound so great. He said that there's a universal religion behind all religion. All people are part of one human family. Kabbalah is about the universal peace of Judaism. And so for a rabbi, living under intense persecution in Christian Europe or, other places, they just didn't see a path towards that. They thought that was very dangerous. And today it sounds like, yeah, let's give it a whirl. Back in his time, they did not like it. And he made a lot of statements like that, and he ran up into a lot of controversial topics. And his Kabbalah, his actual Kabbalah, is very high level, very intense. So I always tell people I'm not a teacher of Abulafia's Kabbalah written word, but I've taken from his system and applied it to music, and that's the big piece that I'm bringing.
Good, thank you. Good. You want to share some more notes with us before we touch on some other points? What do you want to do?
Yeah, so what I want to show you right now, and by the way, as we're going, if anybody has Q&A, I know that we have Michael that'll jump in. If there's any Q&A, please let me know.
Yes.
And let me just see if there's anything. Can you please? Oh, yeah, good. All right. So one of the big things that I happened on was unstructured music. If you can tolerate it, it really opens up the whole door to music. I have 8-year-old students do this, all the way up to whatever age of people I'm teaching, adults to kids. And I tell them, watch your fingers pick any note. See if you can tolerate this. People say, I really want to be non-judgmental. Here's your training ground. See if you can do this, okay?
Right.
So this is what I do when I practice. I first get to the piano and I do this. Close my eyes and I just watch the fingers, pick whatever they want to pick. It sounds like this. It's even hard for me to do that because I'm thinking everyone's listening and they're going to start coming off. They're going to leave the room. I have all those thoughts happen even when I was just doing that. And I know a lot of you. So, so when you do that unstructured playing, it just lets the fingers go. There's no kind of selecting notes. You get into a different part of the mind. And then I go into the permutations. But I have everybody do, and for myself, I do the unstructured. Then I slowly go into, then I add a couple other notes.
So do you find that you sort of give yourself the freedom and then it naturally finds the flow into those permutations?
So the Kabbalah talks about Chachma, one of the Sfirot, and I'll show that another time. There's a Kabbalistic tree. There's Chachma, which is unstructured, and there's Bina. Bina in Hebrew means to build or to understand. So I think of what I just did as unstructured, and then I bring it into Bina, and I really follow the Kabbalah tree, and it's very helpful as a map of how to let the music come through you rather than being good at music. No, it's no fun to be good at music.
Right, not force it, just feel
and
it.
not force it.
Yeah. One more question, Jason, and then we can open it up to anybody else who wants to share or play or ask questions. 2040 is a big year in relation to all of this, right?
Yes. So Abulafia saw himself as a unique person in the world because he was born on the Jewish year of 5000, which was 1240. So he was one of the first people in the history of the Jewish people to teach Jewish mysticism publicly. It was always done with the elite. I mean, you have to think about the time that most people were uneducated, couldn't read. Right. So if you could read and could study, and then you studied Kabbalah, it was very hard to think I could teach this on a mass level. Sure. And they kept it secret. He was one of the first people, I think he was the first person to teach it publicly. And so I think we're all the beneficiaries of that. And then the Zohar came and the Hasidic movement came and all these groups built out in their own unique ways. But so 1240 to 2040 would be the 800th year birthday of Abulafia. So I'm hoping that I can work on this for just the next 19 years. It's not like a big commitment. Yeah.
Not long.
If I could pencil it in, I got some extra free time to get us to a vision of, what would the future look like if people got used to, if kids learn from a small age, what you could do with 4 notes and permutations, and you could talk to people. And if that can be a secondary language, I think other secondary universal language can come out of that. So I think 2040 is like a target goal for me.
Okay, I feel like you can get there. It's going to happen.
Thank you.
So we invite our friends if they want to share anything, if they have questions. I feel a little weird being like asking you to like raise your hand, but that might be the most organized way, and then we can unmute whomever. Would anybody like to share anything or talk about their experiences with what Jason's teaching us? Or share, Michael,
Yeah.
yeah.
I do have a question. Thank you, Jason and Shoshana. This is so interesting. My question is, and I remember that you went through this with me a few months ago on video, but when you're doing the 4 notes, I noticed that you have Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled in the chart, or he has that. And what I'm seeing both in the jazz example you showed and in your written out one, everything's backwards here. I forget which hand I'm supposed to use. That there's a hey in there instead of a Daled. I'm just wondering, is that just you can use any 4 tones, and as long as you stay within those with all the permutations, or is there a reason why you use hey?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I'm just doing one example, but you can use minor notes and different Hebrew letters. I used hey because I actually like to play note 1, 2, 3, and 5. I think it sounds better than hitting 4 sometimes. So I started using that as my 4th note. So I go da 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 da.
Because there's no rules. You just
There's
do
no
it,
rules.
right?
There's no rules. It's just start with 4. If you start with 3 notes, there's only like 9 permutations. If you start with 4, there's 24. So that's a good amount to practice. If you start with 5, you're up to 120. So no one's going to do that. So I like 4 because it's just a nice, good goal to get to. Not too small, not too big. And then you can use lam and mem nun, and you can use other notes. But again, Michael, you're hitting on the whole point of this whole class is that there are no rules. My favorite line of The Simpsons was that they were at rock summer camp, and I think it was the Keith Richards person came out and said, the first rule of rock and roll is that no rules. and that's really the first rule of Abulafia, is that there's no rules. It's just I'm trying to give tools that people will say, it's interesting Jason does it that way, but I really want to do it this way. And I'll be like, that's what we're looking for. And that kind of, when I see the growth of religion and the growth of, particularly like the Orthodox practice, and all the rules and the tradition and all the structure, it's terrific. I need a counterforce to that. The yin needs a yang. And so the individuality of, if a rabbi would come out and say, hey, you make it up, you're not going to hear too many rabbis say that. But if it can be part of the Jewish path, look, we do Shabbat and Kashrut and we do all those things. There's got to be a part where you blaze your own trail. That trail has not been led, and I want you to do that. So that you really bring up a great point, Michael.
Yeah.
Thank you. Actually, I'll tell you something interesting. I have a younger brother he's the lead guitar player, and he's into the Allman Brothers now. And he was playing me some stuff from the early 70s. And Dwayne Allman does some stuff similar with his licks to what you're talking. Now I'm paying attention since we talked about it. So
Excellent.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
It works
It's
well.
funny. You'll probably see it like everywhere now.
You're gonna, Shoshani said it perfectly right. And Michael is a great example. You'll see it everywhere. You'll say, oh, wait a minute, is that what everyone's doing? There was somebody I was teaching music to last year, and he's like, I still can't get the guitar. I need more lessons with you. I said, I'm actually a better teacher. I really improved. So I came over, gave him a couple lessons, and he came back. He said, oh, I figured out Lean on Me, and I figured out an Animal song. They're all doing permutations. And I was like, you could have been a rock star if you met me 30 years ago, but you just decided not to.
Right. So I want to touch back on really quickly again, Michael. Thank you. That was terrific. One second, Lauren.
Oh.
So really is another way of what you're saying, Jason, is that yes, we all have our different faiths and we can practice in that way. But with this piece that you're sharing with us, we can sort of go on our own spiritual path, and the two of them can still be harmonious.
That's what I'm looking for. I see the whole society breaking up into like secular and religious and this and that. There's like a lot of dualism out there. And I think a lot of it comes from people saying, I'm not going to listen to any structures, too authoritarian. And other people saying, hey, if we don't have any structure, we have no society. And can we pull them in together? And I'll say one more thing. The logical incoherence of monotheistic religion is we don't have a way to get together.
Right.
I don't have a way to pray with Muslims and Christians and Sikhs and Baha'is. So if you had music as a starting point, I'm sure there are going to be lots of others, but music as a starting point where we can pray together, that would really reflect monotheism. So
right. It's lovely. All right, Lauren.
I'm going to jump in. I have to say, this is kind of a confession. I am the most musically challenged person ever. Like, never played an instrument, can't carry a tune to save my life. I've tried singing in public and it never goes well. So like this is very intriguing to me. And I think one of the things that I do or that I try to do is really sort of the meditation piece. Like that's something, again, kind of like what you said, it's sort of this universal, like finding your own place. So how would this translate into that meditative state?
Good. Yes.
Great question. Great. And I will say that when I sing at Shabbat tables, I get the question, I thought you were a musician. So my singing, man, that's a hard question. The meditation piece is when you feel your hands take over and they just start going on their own, and without any background. Because I love that challenge when people say, I could never learn that, I could never figure that out. I'm like, well, let's try. And if it's I have a xylophone here, if it's a kid's toy, that makes it more comfortable. But the meditation part is when you do either experience that I laid out, the unstructured part or the structured part. If you do it for 15 minutes, stuff happens, and things happen, and you feel energy come through or information come through. And I really leave it at that because, again, it's very personal. But it's just there's a certain amount of time where it starts to happen. And when I turn on Miles Davis' Kind of Blue and some of the songs come on, they're in that state, and I just don't want people to feel like you need to go for 20 years and live in New York City to train to do this. Like, it should be really accessible. And so I think that's what I was saying, Lauren. If you sat with 4 notes on a piano and just said, I'm just going to try it, and let me give you an example real quick. Let me turn the camera.
For me, it might be a little Tykes xylophone. That's about the extent of our music here.
Yes, when Jason taught me this, that's what I used. He dropped it off and I used it, and it was fantastic in like the best way.
Yeah. So let's see if you have a kid's toy and a xylophone. It's a little sophisticated because it has sharps and flats here. But if you just go, well, let me do the actual one I've done. That's the one, that permutation you've heard me do, right?
Yeah.
And then I just close my eyes and I just think about little melodies that can talk to each other and just go. And that's just, I'm just thinking of 4 notes talking to each other, and on a little child's toy. Now, if I close my eyes and did that for 15 minutes, I think that's the meditation part.
It is. And I can speak to that. You just you don't even think, you're not processing, it's just happening. And it's so healthy.
It's so healthy. It's a good, healthy escape from everything. You can just tune out the world, come back, recharge. I do it during the day, especially just being in front of a computer all day.
Yeah. It feels good. Does anybody else have another question or something they'd like to share, maybe about their experience, if they're familiar with this or something like it?
And I was going to say too on that, I don't know if everyone doesn't mind just saying hello to us and where you're saying hi from, and then you might feel excited to ask a question. But could we go around? Could I start with could I call on people like, Hari, do you mind just saying hello and where you're coming in from? Is that okay? Let's see if she
Sure. My name is Hari, and I met Jason on Clubhouse. And I'm coming from Peekskill, New York, just outside of the city. And it's nice to be here.
Great. And without sharing details, when I get doing a lesson, I learn so much from the people I interact with. So it's really not much of a teacher-student as just friend to friend and sharing information. Hari has ocean of wisdom and ideas, and I've really gained so much. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming on. Let me ask if Hope could say hi. Hope, do you mind saying hi?
Hi Jason. I also met Jason on Clubhouse, and I'm in southern New Jersey outside of Philadelphia. Jason and I definitely both share a love of Torah, and I'm a little bit more Rebbe Nachman. He's Abulafia, so we have this great dialogue going on between those two spiritual masters, and also share a passionate love of music and jazz specifically, but all music. So I also, Lauren, I totally love music. I've been to hundreds and hundreds of concerts. I have no musical talent myself, and I cannot sing. But completely, it goes through me energetically, like just on a vibrational level.
Yeah.
I totally love music. And so, yeah, when I found Jason's room on Clubhouse, I was like, I could totally relate to it, even though I can't play, but I am going to get a xylophone.
Do it. That's right.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Hope.
Yeah.
The conversations, by the way, not that this is a Clubhouse promotional series, but it's a really good format that people really have very constructive dialogue. Can I ask Jan? Jan's been a partner on many, many programs we've done together here in Memphis, and we've been studying music. Do you mind introducing yourself, Jan? Yeah, if you can come off mute.
I'm
Yeah.
Jan Peterson, and I am from the Baha'i community of Memphis. And I think it's been 2 years since Jason came to a gathering, and we had people of all ages. I mean, we had several teenagers there, and you know, babies and 60, 70, 80-year-olds. And he had his boom whackers, you know, the thing that looks like a noodle, a pool noodle.
Yeah.
He had those there that night, and we had so much fun. Just call and response going around the circle, and everybody got to use their boom whackers and make a little tune. So, and I've been kind of working with Jason. He's been giving me some lessons ever since, and I've been kind of experimenting with improvisation, and it's been a great journey to have during COVID. I will say that especially. Thank you, Jason.
Oh, thank you, Jan. The thing about the Baha'i have a natural universal outlook. I've always felt completely welcome, and but I was so excited that these teenagers were blowing me off when I first walked in. They're like, "Hey, guess what?" And they're on their phone. I was like, "I'm gonna get these guys," and at the end they're like, "Oh, that was so much fun, and we did this and blah blah blah," and I got them off the phone. That was a big deal. So I came between them and technology, which was awesome. Yeah, so can I say hi to Carol and Gail? Would you say hi, and how are you guys?
Unmute. There you go.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. We're unmuted now. We're both from Memphis, from Cordova, actually. And I have a question for you.
Great.
Are you the person who came, I think once a month, something like that, to work with the seniors at the JCC?
I did. That was me with Steve Caplan's group. Excellent.
Yep, we were there once or twice.
Okay, right. I'm putting names and faces together.
I was thinking, boy, this sounds familiar when you were talking at the beginning.
Thank you for mentioning that. Steve Caplan was at the JC leading that group, and now Audrey. I'm blanking on Audrey's last name, but she's leading that now. She's wonderful.
May.
But what's the last name?
Audrey May, M-A-Y.
May. That's right, Audrey May. And there's a person in our Jewish community. His mother is, I think, about 91 with some type of dementia or something, and they said that she responded so well to the music, like she had never responded to other programs, and that gave me such a thrill to hear of that. And so I've cherished that group. I'm so glad that you're on the call today. Thank you for coming.
I find this absolutely fascinating. I delved very lightly into metaphysics many years ago, and everywhere I read, every group I went to, it centered on Jesus Christ. And it took me a long time to figure out that, oh, we do this in Judaism too. How cool.
I will say that I felt that way in college when I first learned about Jewish mysticism and the broad, rich spectrum of it. I thought, oh, okay, I didn't know that was here at home. So I feel the same way. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Let me ask Mom if you want to say hi, Judy Caplan.
Sure. I'm so glad to be joining you tonight. I guess I'll just add, you can always mute me too if you need to, but I'll just add that from the time you were just a little teeny guy, that you started a spiritual quest. and always fascinated with spirituality and God and searching and connecting people and peoples. So this has been really a lifelong journey for you. You were born with an old soul, and it continues, and I'm very proud of you.
Oh, thanks, Mom. Yeah. And I've had very supportive parents. It's really, really cool. And we started having Shabbat together, and I've been very blessed to go out on this journey and have such a support group of relatives, but my parents especially. So I'm so glad you joined the call tonight, Mom. It's awesome. And I was going to say that one time I was playing in a music store in Virginia, and a person came over and said, you play like an old man. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you play like you're an old blues man, like you're 80 years old. And I was like, oh, thanks. He's like, yeah, it's a real compliment. So
That's a good thing.
yeah, it was a good thing. I didn't realize that at first what he was trying to say. When I got to Memphis, I have a friend in New Jersey, and Larice Lanier, she's a great singer. And she always said, you play like Memphis, old blues Memphis. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I was really never off the East Coast in my life. And I got to Memphis, and on day 3, I was playing here when I moved here. I moved in June 28th, and like July 2nd, I was playing gigs. And people were like, oh, wait, oh my gosh, you play great. And I was like, I guess I do play Memphis blues. It was really interesting to get that connection.
It was Bashert.
It was Bashert. Can I ask Janet to say hi if you'd like to say hi?
Unmute.
She's almost there, I think.
There
There
we
you
go. Hi. I have lived in Memphis for about just about 6 years now. And like Lauren and Hope, my greatest musical gift is the gift of appreciation. So I have tried learning instruments over the years, and I just I don't have the gift. So
I'm hoping to transcend that for a lot of people, to say, if I gave you 4 notes, what could you do with it? I think 12 and 88 keys total is intimidating, and I want to see what folks can do with 4. So I just love everyone not confessing but sharing that they feel like they couldn't get into music, but they really appreciate it. And if it ends up being that way, that's great. But there's one more invitation in your life that someone says, why don't you stick to 4 notes and see what could come out of it? And it's pretty exciting.
but then it's just deciding what instrument. So
That too. I mean, I really recommend people think of a xylophone, because it's a kid's instrument, and it's nothing that you feel like, oh, I've got to be good at this. It's just, you just bang on it. So I really love the xylophone. Okay, and then Josh, do you mind saying hi? I really appreciate you coming. Would you like to say a quick hello? Almost there. You just got to come off mute.
Unmute.
You see that button?
Uh-oh.
Maybe he doesn't see it. Okay.
You're still on mute, Josh.
All right. Now, can you hear me now?
Yeah, good. Go for it.
Thank you guys so much. I am Joshua Heron, Josh Heron. I'm Janice Peterson's son. I've been the benefactor of a few of Jason, your lessons passed on to me, and I've seen you as well at perform downtown at what club was that, Mom?
BB King's.
BB King's, I think. Yeah, it was BB
right.
King. You guys did a great job. So I'm happy to be here. I'm a label boss of Heron Records. We have a few artists here in town, and we do great numbers. And I'm hoping to learn some musical gems from the experts. So it's just a lot of fun to be here. And thank you so much for the invite.
That's so awesome. Oh, great, Josh. Oh, I'm glad Jan is teaching, paying it forward, because that's the best way to learn is to teach.
I've been the benefactor. Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, great. Well, let me say that I don't know if people that are not on camera, like Diana, would you be able to come off? Diana plays all over Memphis piano, but you might be in listening mode. That's okay. Or Nancy or Joel. If anybody would like to say hi. Okay. If you would, just please come off mute when you'd like to, or you can keep listening. So I think at this point, Shoshana, if you have other questions, or I would go do an interaction with Michael if he has. Michael, do you have your guitar with you or a piano?
I have guitar. Let me go get it set up. So I was having some
Okay.
issues with my kids for a minute. That's why I was bouncing this thing back and forth. I'll be right there.
Sure.
Hold on a second.
Do you want to go with another topic to talk about, Shoshana?
Well, so I guess if we were to, we're going to end this in just a couple of minutes here after y'all's musical interlude here. What is something that people can take away, and how do they apply this after what they've learned from you tomorrow, tonight, this coming week? What are just like some of the key takeaways? This is simple, like we can do this.
Okay, that's what I would say. This is simple, we can do it. You can try it on a xylophone or a piano. I'm holding my guitar right now. But if you just try 4 notes and then try, okay, the thing is, I think of the 4 notes as brothers and sisters. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 4, 3. You change the last 2 digits and you'll hear the call and response. And you'll be like, okay, why don't I try 1, 3, 2, 4 and 1, 3, 4, 2, right? And you'll just hear the call and response happening and you'll say, well, so why don't I just shift my hand over 1 note, and you'll start exploring that. It's just so simple and it's really fun. So that's the main takeaway. I'm certainly working on a manual that I'd love to have as a PDF and deliver through Amazon and other tools to help people get started. And so that is the main takeaway. And then the main takeaway underneath it is, if you do it for 15 minutes, I believe you'll feel the notes choosing themselves. So prophecy or spirituality or mysticism, it just doesn't have to be that exotic, right? It can be very, there's a great story about a Jewish man who had this dream. He lived in Krakow. He had this dream about gold in the king's palace. So he left his house and he went to this palace, and he got there and the guard said, no one's allowed in. He said, but I had this dream about this all these things, and I know where it is in the palace. And the guard said, there's no one coming in. I mean, really, this is the end of the story. And he sits there dejected. And the guard says, you know, it's funny you mentioned dreams. I had this dream about this Jew who had gold under his bed, and he never knew that it was right there. And the Jew goes, oh. And he runs back home, looks under his bed, and there's the gold. And it's one of those stories about we go on these massive adventures and all these different books and systems and people, and it's actually right here at home. It's pretty easy to find. It's right under your bed. So that's really the main takeaway. Spirituality is very easy and accessible. You just need to get into the idea of constant changing, so you don't get stuck in the same roots that we always think. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Or make a comment? When you said you preferred using 1, 2, 3, 5, it brought me back to when I taught music in Memphis, and we used the pentatonic scale, because especially on a xylophone, if you use do, re, mi, so, la, all of those notes sound good with each other. And by doing 1, 2, 3, 5, what you're getting is 4 of those 5 notes that always sound good together.
Yay, great. It's an excellent point. When helping people get started, I want them to make sure it sounds right. So Gail, did we talk about ORF? Were you the ORF teacher?
Yes, I was an ORF teacher.
Okay, great. For anybody who wants to study this afterwards, ORF is just an incredible system, and the teachers that taught, just incredible. And I've just found that system to be amazing. So that's the point, is that, what was the My Girl? I got sunshine. See, I can't sing. And but that's all the pentatonic, and it just sounds great. You know, that everyone knows that. That's pentatonic, so you can't go wrong. That's why I like 1, 2, 3, 5. So thank you, Gail. It's a great point.
Yes, good point.
Yeah, got me to sing. On a cloudy day. All right, is Michael ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Now we're gonna do single notes. So I'm gonna do a call to Michael, and he'll do a response. And if you can, Michael, we're gonna try and stick with the 1, 2, 3, 5 of C. Can you start on C for that? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So I would play C, D.
Where I'm a little lower than you.
One more? Got it. Perfect. Okay, great. And so what we do is I'll do a permutation and he'll do a response, okay? Okay, now you can add any note that you want to add to that. So I would do something like.
Oops.
Good? Yep. Great, and so that's perfect. Great, thank you, Michael. So you can see if we had 10 people and if everyone goes around the room and gives their own example and they're like, oh, I can do this. I can get 4 notes out.
Right. No, it's good. It's a musical conversation and yeah, it's centering everyone. It was good. Thank you, Michael. There's
Yeah, so
no
now,
whoops, by the way. Like you said whoops, but there isn't because it's whatever you play. That's what it is. Like
that's
that's
it.
what it's supposed to be.
That's it.
True,
When the
true.
music takes over, it just comes through whenever it comes out. So now that we've done that, let me just show you this chart again. So now that we've come to the sort of the conclusion, we'll do a couple more things, but you can see where I'm using these 4 notes to organize my music, just like they organize their meditation. Now, the Kabbalists of this day wrote it out. They wrote out all the different things, and they started getting new ideas. I enjoy writing these out. I write them out in different languages. I love writing this out in Arabic and Hebrew and Punjabi. That's a whole different wonderful meditation. But I love practicing out in music. So I think if it's okay, Shoshana, maybe we'll do a little bit more Q&A, but I think I'll do just a little bit of like a 2-minute extended on the guitar of how I do my meditation during the day.
Sure.
Are there any other questions before I do one more demonstration? And I want to thank everyone so much for coming. You've really made it a joy to talk about this and see your faces. And it's just, I hope we can do it in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll fly people out to Memphis. We'll get a budget. It'll be great. Yes, go ahead, Carol.
Yeah.
I think she came back on. Just come off mute one more time. You're still on mute. There you go.
There you go.
Okay. What I found when I first started to learn to meditate was I could not clear my mind. When I finally learned to meditate, I was taught a structured version of meditation. It started with guided meditation, and you think about this and you think about that. And then after a while, it takes its own life. And to me, not having to clear my mind, this method of having something to do is going to be much more effective than trying to just clear your mind of all thoughts. Excellent.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. I want to say this is one of my favorite stories from college. There was a guru that was popular in the 70s named Sri Chinmoy. He was like popular with like some of the rock stars. Anyways, I went to one of those classes because like you guys, I was like thinking, how could I quiet my mind? So the teacher gets up and says, and now this is where you turn off your mind. And I had this massive Jewish reaction. I said, this thing doesn't turn off. Are you kidding me? It doesn't stop. I'm Jewish. It will be running and running. You can't even get this thing to slow down. There's no exit ramps. And I stopped and I walked out and it's not for me. Clearing my mind is not for me. It doesn't happen. But if I can get my mind to move off of one thought or one way of thinking and that keeps going, that's where I find peace and tranquility. So I think that's a great segue. Although I did see a question come up. Let me just grab a question. Oh, okay. Great, Jan. What is the result of combining and recombining the Hebrew letters? Oh, okay, great. If we were focused on combining the Hebrew letters, a lot of the movement of the letters create other words. And there's a word like tikkun, which means to fix, has a lot of like nekat has another word. Katan means small, and you can say like, well, I need to fix the world in a small way, and you can get other ideas by mixing up all the words. That's typically what the Kabbalists did. They would mix up the letters and say, oh, it really means this too. So that's or the number values. For me, mixing them up creates different sounds that I wouldn't have thought of on my own. And I think most of us in the Western world play rhythm like da, 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 da. And we need something like z, b, ka, la, m from Hebrew to get it more lively. So those are the ways I pull out the different mixing.
So what did Abulafia, what benefit did he see in it?
Very good. He thought it was the path of prophecy, and he felt that the Ruach HaKodesh, which in Hebrew is the Holy Spirit, came upon him when he did these letter permutations. And then he felt that his pen took over and wrote out other things, and he got more messages and ideas and thoughts, and things started happening. And he talks about like the hair on his neck came up and the light came around him and these messages came to him. So it was just the way that he, in today's world, they call it like neural pathways, new neural pathways. Actually, I love that phrase because I think that's what he was doing. And it just got him to look at things from all angles. And then he felt that God's spirit came upon him. And then that's why he started teaching everybody. He taught Jews, Muslims, Christians. He taught everybody this because he thought it was the inheritance of everyone.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Diana, did you want to jump in? I saw you come off mute.
Oh, well, I was just gonna, it's just so interesting to hear this stuff because I am so structured in my approach with everything because I'm a complete nerd, with piano playing. But it was interesting to hear you say Coltrane because he's been on K&O, all the jazz people lately. But I don't know what I wanted to say. It's just good to get this kind of openness from you and to have that some looseness because I'm so structured. It's rather nauseating. I mean, I've got a lot of passion. I always have passion, but if I don't have the structure, I get afraid. So it was good to hear you speak on that.
I would love post-pandemic, and if you're vaccinated, to get together and see how I can learn structure from you and take a lesson and vice versa, show you the unstructured. That would be so fascinating.
Oh God, let's do it.
Let's do it. I go to St. Jude. I work with the staff there on their retirement planning, and I was sitting in the cafe eating lunch, and it's like somebody's playing this beautiful piano music. I mean, beautiful Debussy and Bach, and I was like, who is playing this amazing music? And it's Diana. And I was like, I snuck in like right after the song's like, don't want to bother you, but hi, it's me, Jason. Like, oh, Jason, hi. And just amazing, the town here in Memphis. It is amazing, the talent in Memphis. It's incredible. So I'm so glad you joined the call, Dana. So
me too, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you. We're coming up right on the hour. Let me complete with saying thank you so much, Shoshana Sanker, for helping guide this.
Pleasure.
I think everyone can see me get excited and go way off course. So I really, really appreciate the dialogue and the structure there, Shoshana.
Absolutely. No, this was good. I'm so glad that everybody joined on. And it sounds like people got some good takeaways from it, and hopefully we can just continue it.
I hope so. I hope we can continue. And Lauren Taub, thank you so much for having me and working this out.
And thank you, Jason. We're always looking for ways to help people connect to their Judaism through programs at the Memphis JCC. And like you said, there's not really one path for everyone. And I love that this is a way that people can connect. So I know some of you are local, some of you are not, but if you have ideas or are really inspired by programs, do what Jason did, please reach out and connect. We're really open and really excited about learning new things with all of you.
Excellent. I want to say I got my whole start here in Memphis through the Jewish community. I have so many projects that the Jewish community supported. Incredible community, incredible staff.
Wow.
Thank you, Jason. This has been fabulous, really.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
I'm going to play a little bit. Please, you guys can stay or listen. I just want to thank everyone for coming. I know we're coming up on the hour, so I'm going to do a little bit about the more in-depth playing. Let me get my fingers up here so you can see them. So in the morning or afternoon, whenever I get a chance, sometimes before prayer service, I'll do this. Then I'll just start with a set of 4. So here I go. I'm going to do a set of 4, and I'll play for just a couple minutes. If you need to drop off, I totally understand. The friends that didn't join me tonight, I'm never calling them, and you guys are on my short list.
They're dead to you. It's over.
It is over. Okay, here we go. No, you can't end a spiritual class like that. That's all just church comedy. Okay, so here's how I start the 4 notes, right? And that's the theme that I'm going to build on. Okay, so. Okay.
So nice.
If I didn't stop myself, I would just keep going and going and going. That's how much I love it. So.
And we would let you because it's terrific.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you again, MJCC, Lauren Taub, Shoshana. Thanks everyone for coming.
Incredible.
Mom, Hope, Michael, Gail, Carol,
Thank you.
Josh, Hari, thank you for coming. Diana, Joel. Good night, everyone.